Reasons to read it. Reasons to read it. This is a first draft of a first video for my YouTube channel that I'm never actually going to create, which is called Reasons to Read It. And the first book that I'm going to give you reasons to read it is John Straw's Straw Dogs. I'm coming pretty late to the party here with this one. It's 20 years old, and it does feel like a book that kind of needs reading when it comes out, because it's very prescient. It's very much a book of its time. It's very much a book trying to deal with the times in which it was written. But although that's true on one level, it's also a book which, if anything, I would say feels like it's grown in prescience in the 20 years since it was published in, I think I'm right in saying, 2003. And also, although it sort of presents itself as, and it is a very contemporary book, it does clearly borrow quite a lot, I would say, from some 1800s, 19th century thought in particular, some thought from Friedrich Nietzsche. But I'm just going to give you 5 quick reasons to read it. Although really, actually, I've only written 4 here. So I'm just going to give you 4 reasons to read it. So first of all, it certainly is a text of philosophy, but it's very accessible. And a lot of philosophy is anything but accessible. Most of the classics in philosophy are books you can't really hope to read from cover to cover, I would say. That certainly goes for people like Kant and Hegel, Spinoza, and in the 20th century Derrida, people like that. But actually, it is very much in the tradition of Nietzsche. Nietzsche is one of the great European philosophers who perhaps is readable from cover to cover. This book's definitely readable from cover to cover. You can read it in several hours. Not only because it's not massively long, but also because it's written in prose, which is intended to be accessible to anyone. And also, it's subdivided into very short sections. Sometimes, again, in sort of imitation of Nietzsche, some of the subsections are even as short as a couple of sentences long. So that's the first reason to read it. Okay, secondly, is that it's a real, really kicks whatever your ideological crutch is. It really does its best to give it a kicking and shake whatever it is you currently believe. It basically is just targets a range of different aspects of intellectual life. So on the one hand, liberal atheists might be pleased to hear that it gives monotheistic religion a bit of a critique, but actually it spends a lot more time attacking atheism itself as an ideology, also attacking science as being purely rational in the way that we perhaps like to think it is. And also it really attacks the idea of universal political aspirations, including liberalism. And so it's going to shake whatever you currently really believe. I thought a third reason is that I would say one of the hardest things intellectually about being alive in 2023 is the idea of an impending climate crisis, and this book absolutely takes on that idea, and it proposes a different way of looking at the climate crisis. In some ways, a more comforting way of looking at the idea that humanity is potentially facing cataclysmic doom, perhaps even in this century. But it does that by basically saying we shouldn't actually be as concerned about humanity as we normally are. And it's very much borrows on post-humanist philosophy and Gaia theory. Talks a lot about Gaia theory. And actually, I need to stop talking about that because, due to the fact I haven't thought this through well enough, my fourth reason to read it is that it does put forward a philosophy or a religious belief system after having given a good kicking to liberalism, atheism, scientism, monotheism. And as I mentioned a minute ago, that is Gaia theory. Basically, the post-human idea that we don't actually need to worry that much about what happens to humanity, that we're still suffering from the Enlightenment delusion that human rationality is some kind of God's eye view over nature, is separate from nature, and John Gray doesn't think that's right. And he's not actually that original in saying this, because that's the post-humanism of the mid to late 20th century, and also really that goes back again to Nietzsche, and a lot of his big ideas in this book actually go back to Nietzsche, including the idea that atheism, with all its kind of self-certainty and arrogance, actually is really just an extension of the Christian will to truth, as Nietzsche would call it. But again, this is just straight out of Nietzsche. It's not actually his own idea. Okay, that's it. That's reasons to read it.